Welcome live to Daytona International Speedway. Like a jewel in the Florida night sky, this place is more brightly lit than the adjacent airport. And some of NASCAR's fastest of 2003 are about to take to the track in round 2 of Bud Shootout practice. Unlike the afternoon session in 85-degree temperatures, now these drivers and their crew chiefs will get a chance to experience what they'll expect tomorrow evening when the Bud Shootout is run under the lights. Kevin Harvick, quickest in the afternoon session. And a lot of new color right there, like Mark Martin's brightly painted sponsor festoon car. Dave Burns has more.
Well, and you know, Mike, have you ever had noisy neighbors? Have you had noisy neighbors, Mike?
Not that I'll admit to on national TV.
Thank you. Exactly.
Or I'll have more.
That's a very smart answer. Well, Mark Martin's garage area was one of the noisiest down here between their practice sessions this afternoon. Sawing away, sanding away, all kinds of noise. And I came back a little while later and looked at the front fenders, and there was nothing on there. So I went to Pat Tryson to find out, Pat, if I see nothing on top, where was all the sanding and grinding and sawing going on? Underneath, right?
Yeah, we were doing trying some adjustments with some aero stuff underneath that's trying to make it a little more downforce to make it turn just a little bit better. He just needs a little more grip getting in. And so we tried some stuff on some underneath stuff that we know should help front downforce.
And is that stuff you've tried in the wind tunnel and know you could do, or was that sort of like, yeah, let's think about some stuff and try it?
It's some stuff that we've done in the wind tunnel. It's not as good drag-wise, but it makes a little more downforce, so you give up a little bit to get a little bit.
All right, and as the cars roll, let's go to Matt.
And the Bud guys waiting for Dale Jr. to pull off, munching on some macaroni and cheese here at the back of the trailer. And Tony Sr., how would you describe that first session? I mean, there was some smoking tires, some vibrations.
Yeah, the car's real tight. Just can't get them to turn. Everybody in the garage is having a problem. The cars won't turn. They're tearing the right front tires off of them. The balance is just way off on the car. They got so much spoiler on the back of them. So we changed a bunch of A-arms, changed gears, drive shafts, trying to get rid of the vibration. And I'm not even sure that's what it is. It might be the tires vibrating. I don't know. But he said that the cars are so tight they have to let off the gas like they did on the short track to get through the corner. So hopefully it'll be better.
Making this final session even more important, Mike Joy.
Thanks, Matt. Not only is it a new year at Daytona, there are new rules and nuances of these cars to adapt to. So I've got Larry McReynolds and Jeff Hammond alongside to explain it all to you. Tony Eury looked like he has a lot of work yet to do.
Well, this is the same rule package that they ran at Talladega back in October, the same height rear spoiler with that bigger restrictor plate. The problem is, we say it every year, Daytona is not Talladega. Daytona is a handling racetrack, and what Tony's saying, I even heard it in Pat Tryson, what he was describing about Mark Martin's cars, the cars are not going to turn. Now, the bad news is the track's cooling down, and they're going to want to turn less, Jeff Hammond, because, you know, you've got more grip, and the cars are going to push more and more as you get more laps on the tires.
Definitely so. As the fuel burns off these race cars, more nose weight goes to the front of the cars. That's going to be a problem. You saw right there, I think, the two cars, Rusty Wallace, his car's already hitting the racetrack again. This is one of those situations where tonight's practice, even though they got 1 hour to get everything done, they've got to get it done right. And the guys that were good early on, you've got to be conscious of the fact that this is not a daytime race. You've got to tune it for the night and cooler track conditions.
But wait a minute. I thought we just opened the track for 1 hour of practice. This looks like they just dropped the green flag. This is not practice. This is race simulation right here.
Well, that's exactly what you're going to see tomorrow night, Mike, and that's what these guys are trying to get geared up for right now. This is the way it's going to happen when they get through picking their positions. You got to remember, nobody knows where they're starting, so you got to figure out how good your car is no matter whether you're up front or whether you're in the back. This is the best time to understand the balance of your race car.
Our Fox colleague Darrell Walker will host the draw for position later this evening to find out where they'll start tomorrow night in the Bud Shootout. There is no speed qualifying for the Bud Shootout. It's always been determined by a draw among the eligible drivers. Now, Elliott Sadler, who posted the, how shall I say it, least fastest speed this afternoon, is the first car on track in that monochrome paint scheme, M&M number 38. And yet he's been out front ever since they dropped the rag and opened the track.
But they know the speed chart in practice is deceiving because it's all in how you're lined up. Maybe you got a group catching a group and the speed's going to shoot way up. We know we interviewed him in that first practice. He was very happy the way that car was driving. And sometimes when it's driving good and you know it's good, the safest place is in that garage area.
And that's where Boris said was until just now. He's going to pull out, try to join this pack. 17 of the 19 eligible drivers have been on track and made laps in this nighttime practice. Now this afternoon was acclimation, tweaking, getting your car right. This is the real deal for tomorrow night.
It really is, Michael. This is what these guys are looking at right now. They've gone in, they've done all these adjustments. They've anticipated track conditions as far as temperature is concerned. They've made the adjustments like Tony Senior was talking about on Dale Earnhardt's car. All these guys have got these things tweaked out, put 4 brand new tires on it, filled it full of fuel, and said, okay, let's go run us a segment here and see how our car responds.
Has the fastest lap early in this second practice session for the Bud Shootout. We're live on Speed. Don't move. Speed Channel coverage of Bud Shootout practice is brought to you by New Levitra. New choice, here now. Ask your doctor today. They've all been out there jostling for position, and the pack has now kind of broken in two. And the driver who had the quick time, Bobby Labonte, now second. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now fastest. But don't let these times deceive you, because many of these quick times are from a car that is back off of some cars as he comes by and then sucks up to the pack the next time by. So his lap time is quicker than, let's say, the car at the front of the pack on that lap, and so it goes.
You know, Mike, this can be a real challenge for these guys, what they're trying to do here. They're trying to make a long run with these cars. Remember, tomorrow night's race is 70 laps. They're going to run 20 laps, then a 10-minute break to do normal pit stop adjustments and procedures, fuel and tires, then 50 laps. We know they will have to make at least one pit stop in that 50 laps for fuel because of the smaller fuel cells. But right now, what they're trying to do, most of them are going to be trying to overcome an aero push by fixing it with chassis things, and that's hard to do because you can't make the rear spoiler smaller, the size is mandated, and you can't take degrees out because the degrees is mandated. So it can be a real challenge what these guys are trying to do here and adjust on.
And Jeff, that pit stop, most of the drivers we heard from in the last session said it'll be a 4-tire stop. They won't gamble with 2.
No, that's true. They're already figured out right now that they need to have the grip from the new tires and everything. So the pit stop is going to be very critical tomorrow. Getting off pit road, not tearing anything up, and at the same time having a really smooth stop and making the necessary adjustments as quickly as possible.
To the garage, Mark Martin. Dave Burns is there.
And Mike, his crew pushed his car in, but not to worry. It was a clean cut of the engine. They went out there and met him, pushed the car in. Mark uttered a few statements over the radio that were very, very positive. And I asked crew chief Pat Tryson, did he say the car was perfect? And he said, yeah. No, he didn't say it was perfect. Yeah, I think he did say the key word. Mark's very happy right now.
But I'm going to tell you, Dave, if I'm his crew chief, Pat Tryson, if you're happy now, you've only run 5 laps, go out there and run me about 15 or 20 more, and if you're still happy. And what they mean by a clean cut, what Mark did down the backstretch at full throttle, he reached up and shut the engine down. It gets a clean cut on the engine where Jack Roush and those engine guys can look at the spark plugs and tell a lot about the distribution of the engine and needing to adjust jetting or something of that nature of the carburetor.
And one reason that's very important this year on this night is NASCAR's changed fuel suppliers. The 76 competition 110 racing gasoline, 110 octane, has been replaced. NASCAR has a new fuel supplier this year, Sunoco, with a 112 octane fuel that has a very different componentry than the fuel it replaced. So all of these engine builders are being very cautious and want to get some checks so they know exactly what they're dealing with, because tuning these engines is different with a different fuel.
And I think we add one more thing to that, Mike, is the fact that what you're alluding to is the temperature as well as the air density itself at night is so much different than what it is during the day, can affect all this as far as the fuel mixture is concerned. So it's better to be safe than sorry.
Most of this pack right here, they're up there at about that 10 or 11 lap mark in this run. This would be about halfway through the first segment tomorrow night.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. with the quickest lap of this 1-hour practice session, and you're going to see it all right here on Speed. You asked for it, we're going to give it to you trackside in front of a live audience. The first such show will be next Friday, right next to Daytona, USA. Come on by, 7 o'clock. We'll catch it live right here on Speed. Trackside.
See the 10 car there kind of in the middle of the pack. Now that's the car that will be driven by Scott Riggs in the Nextel Cup Series all year long, running for Rookie of the Year. But how you get in this race right here is if you sit on the Bud pole last year in 2003, or if you're a past winner of the Bud Shootout. Mike Skinner, he's in the 10 car. He sat on the pole last year driving for not this race team, but the teammate to this team, the 01 car at Richmond. So they elected to put Mike in this team car right here because Boris said, who sat on the pole at Infineon in the 01 car, that's the car he's driving here.
And we did get a clarification that apparently you must not only still be an active Nextel Cup driver if you're a past winner of this race, but need to finish so far up in the point standings the previous year to be able to use that past winner's slot as Mark Martin has. There are 2 drivers who are eligible for this race, but who do not have rides for tomorrow night. One is Steve Park, and the other is Jeff Green. Jeff Green drives for the Petties, and Richard Petty's cars do not carry the Budweiser decal, and thus do not compete. And Jeff Green either was unable or declined to try and pick up another ride for the race because as a driver he is eligible.
And I think we need to point out that that's something that the Petties have done forever. Since the inception of this, we just did not believe it was a good thing for them to be involved in because obviously we just don't really believe in the beer sponsorship situation. And I mean, I respect him for that, but it's unfortunate for Jeff Green. He did earn the right to participate.
Dave Burns.
Mike caught the end of Rusty Wallace's conversation with his crew as he's bringing the car in. Just a little bit tight. He said, let's throw another setup on it and see what we get. Right front spring has been changed, a left side track bar adjustment, and they're going to take it back out there. Rusty didn't sound too concerned, just wanted to try something a little different. I think they're going to put change of spring rubbers in the right rear as well.
And you're so limited to the chassis adjustments you can make here because of the NASCAR rules. NASCAR says you can't run softer than 350-pound rear springs. The softer the springs are, the more will get the spore out of there. You can stiffen them, and I think a lot of them will be stiffed in that right rear spring to help them turn. The front springs are wide open. I got a feeling that they're probably going to soften that right front spring. You can play with the front sway bar, but the rear shocks are mandated. You cannot change the rear shocks. You can only change the combination of the front shocks.
Couple of new fellows out there. There's Boris Said in the 01 at the tail of that pack who won the pole at Infineon. Dave Blaney is in the 23 for the Bud Shootout. And we'll be right back. Speed Weeks rolls on speed. The ARCA stock car race, the 200-miler here at Daytona tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. live. Bobby Gerhart on the pole, Kyle Busch alongside, and you'll see it here on Speed.
Always an exciting race.
What we just saw will take your breath. Watch this.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car. He was not quite clear of Mike Skinner in the 10 car and came down, and that's a big part of the spotter's shoulders up there, Jeff.
It really is, and you don't realize how close he came to getting turned sideways right there. I mean, good job of driving by Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well as, you know, Mike Skinner, both that did the right thing to get crazy with the steering wheel. But let's point out, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has got a new spotter. It's not normally his regular spotter. Stevie Reeves is up on top here right there in the car camera. He had to lift a little bit, but I mean, that was close, wasn't it, Matt?
It was close. Stevie Reeves, a veteran spotter here in Nextel Cup Series competition, just calling out clear high, clear low. You got one on the outside. Junior really never said anything about the incident on the radio. Shortly before we went to commercial, he came on the radio and said the car sucks up much better, meaning it pulls up to the pack. He also says the car is not quite as tight. Tony Jr., his car chief at Cousins, said, all right, see if you can suck back up to the pack and pull it in. He said, no, sir, I want to see if I can pass everybody. He says, all right, when you do that, then bring it in. And that's basically what he's doing now. He's trying to see if he can suck up and work his way through the pack and just see how good that Bud Chevy really is.
And Matt, what he's done here, he's ran 22 laps, which is good because that's 2 laps more than that first segment. So he knows what to expect tomorrow night in that first run of 20 laps. Plus, that's almost half the distance of the second segment when they know they'll probably be coming to pit road for fuel, 4 tires, and adjustments.
I tried to pitch myself down in front of the 10, about spun my car out, about factored him pretty hard. But I was trying to squeeze him down. I was waiting on my spotter to tell me he wasn't backing out or he was going to. Kind of got about turned around there. His car's good.
This is part of the learning curve and the communication process between spotter and driver. What do I expect you to say what do I want you to tell me? Where do I want to hear from you? Where don't I? And that is it's a long process to expect that that's going to happen real quickly. And you heard Dale Jr. talk about what he wanted to hear.
Yeah, and I mean, Matt, this is happening out there at over 190 miles per hour.
Larry Mack, but this is exactly what Stevie Reeves wanted. He told me yesterday afternoon, I have worked with Dale Jr. before. 4 times we've worked together in the past, but he said, I really want to get some good practice time in to know what he wants, how he wants me to clear, how he wants me to tell him he's got cars around him, and how I can help him move through the pack. And he was really looking forward to tonight's practice session, especially at night, which will be very similar to conditions tomorrow night in the Bud Shootout, just to work on that communication between spotter and driver.
So in that case, what Dale Jr. was hoping to hear was still there.
Yes.
Words to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, most drivers, I know doing what little bit of spotting I've done, I did a lot for Wally Dallenbach last year, they want to constantly know what's going on because you're their eyes. They're in there, they have those rests on both sides of them. They want that reassurance that it's clear or either they're still there, because if you're not saying anything, it makes them unsure.
And in that driver cocoon, with all of the netting and the wide, long headrests that are used by the drivers now, they can't look outside the car to the left or the right and clear themselves anymore.
No, basically they've got blinders on, Mike, and that's the reason why the spotter is so important. And that comfort level you're trying to achieve is so critical, because you've got to be able to have the confidence that he's basically in that car with you, helping you drive and get through things that you can't do anything about. You need to be focused on looking out the front windshield, and he should be giving you the clear. But also, you heard Dale Jr. say, I was trying to squeeze it down a little bit to see where he's at, and it almost cost him and Mike Skinner both. So, I mean, that's playing a little bit of a game of chicken out here tonight. It just about got both of them in trouble.
Rusty Wallace, Jeremy Mayfield, Elliott Sadler, as Bud Shootout practice rolls on here on Speed. Speed Channel coverage of Bud Shootout practice is brought to you by Helzberg Diamonds. Their value promise means you'll get their best price first time every time. Helzberg Diamonds. Confidence comes in a burgundy box. Dale Jr. paces round 2 of Bud Shootout practice. Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5 practice speeds as cars go in and out of the garage. Most laps, Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon, 22 apiece. Least laps, Mark Martin went in the garage after 5. Matt?
And Dale Jr.'s car up on jack stands, making some changes. First off, Jr., a little scary moment over there with a car which you thought actually had a young driver in it, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought it was that other boy from the Busch Series. Used to drive the 10 car back there.
Riggs.
Yeah, Riggs. I can't never remember their names, but I thought it was him, but it's Skinner. I'd have probably known better than to do it around Skinner. But, yeah, I was stuck on the outside. I was trying to get back to the inside, and wasn't nobody cut me no slack. So I figured I'd try to make it happen. It just, that wasn't the right thing to do either.
How is the communication going between yourself and Stevie Reeves? Are you happy so far?
Yeah, he'd spot for me before, and I was real happy with him then. And I think he's going to do a fine job. I'm definitely going to miss Ty, but Stevie's, I think Ty would even tell you Stevie's a great spotter, and his background and his driving experience is going to help me a lot too.
And you said you wanted to say something to somebody?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to all the DMP board, Kevin King, Denair, all the peeps on FLM. Want to give them a what's up. They're probably all watching right now, so take it easy.
And they'll be good to know, glad to know that the vibration that Junior was talking about and that Tony Sr. was talking about at the beginning of the show is now gone. Dave?
And Matt, we heard his shout out to Scott Riggs as well, who of course is not in the car right now. It is Mike Skinner. Scott standing by here watching the activity of his team down here. Last time you were in the car was testing. Now you're watching and listening. What are you picking up from the activity?
Just watching. The good thing about it, both the Valvoline cars were about the same. They sort of reacted the same changes we were down here testing. So hopefully everything that we can learn here in the shootout with Mike in the car, we can sort of transfer over to the 500 car. And feel good about it so far.
We talk a lot about communication. Is own spotter, or is it the same voice that you're going to be hearing with your 500 car?
It's actually our spotter, our team, everybody, you know, making the call here. So it's good. It's good to see how the guys work right now. It's good to be sort of outside the box right now, seeing what's going on, listen to another driver, the way that he explains the car, and get a little more feedback. And like I said, hopefully everything we learn here, we can transfer over to the 500 car.
Few days. Scott will get to do this himself for real in the 10 car. Mike?
Now we'll see him tomorrow morning in Nextel Cup practice right here on Speed Channel. Now, I didn't make notes of what Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, but I think DMP I can translate to Dirty Mo Posse, all his buddies there in Mooresville. And Ty was Ty Norris, who was general manager of Dale Earnhardt Incorporated until just about 1 week ago. He also spotted for Dale Jr. as part of his duties with the company, and he's no longer with them.
Yeah, I mean, other than Stevie Reeves doing a little bit of spotting for Dale Earnhardt Jr., which Stevie mainly spotted for Steve Park in one car, Ty Norris's voice has been in Dale Earnhardt's ear not only during his Nextel Cup career, but also when he ran the Busch Series car for 2 years. So he's been there a long time as his spotter.
Now, you're talking about his voice. Did you hear it, Larry? He sounded to me like a confident driver, having some fun out there. Got a pretty good race car, so you better watch out for that cat. Whenever he's smiling, everybody else better beware.
Oh, yeah.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. continues to have the fastest lap of this 1 hour practice session. You're watching it on Speed Channel. We'll be right back. Next Friday, 8 p.m. live from here at Daytona International Speedway. Opening round of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, always exciting, and now it's Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Toyota as they open the season. Don't miss it next Friday night live. It is a full moon Friday night here in Daytona Beach. Now, if we were short tracking,
that would howling at the moon for a long time.
I know he has. That would mean trouble, because full moon and short track racing usually means calamity and multiple caution flags. Tomorrow night, of course, under the lights, the Bud Shootout. That full moon will be up there high in the sky. We'll see what happens.
And it'll be just like a short track tomorrow night when everything's all said and done, because these guys, a lot of them know, I'm not going to run this car in the 500. All I'm going to do is try to win this race and make all the money I can.
That's Bill Elliott in that 91. New number for Bill, who's going to run a part-time Nextel Cup schedule. This is an Evernham car, much like he's been driving for Ray for the past couple of seasons. But he is going to run the Shootout tomorrow night and then not compete in the Daytona 500 for the first time in about a quarter century.
Since 1980, it was since that time right there. He's been running all of them since then.
His next race right now, tentatively planned, is Las Vegas. Had a great test out there a couple of weeks ago. And I talked to Bill yesterday at Media Day here at Daytona International Speedway, and he's having fun. You know, he's having fun with his limited schedule. He's having fun doing driver coaching for Casey Kane. I know they went to Rockingham and tested here a few weeks ago. I was talking to Ray Evernham, and Ray said, Bill called me about lunchtime and said, let me tell you something. This kid's got it.
So Bill Elliott may be going the way of Buddy Baker, the man who won the first Busch Clash, now the Bud Shootout, as Buddy coached Ryan Newman, and now his new protege is Brendan Gaughan for the 2004 season.
It's hard to believe this will be the 26th annual running of the Busch Clash, the Bud Shootout, the Budweiser Shootout.
You know what you need to call it, guys? We always talk about the Daytona 500 being the Super Bowl of our racing series. Well, this basically is our Pro Bowl.
Yes.
All these guys right here are the top of the top when it comes to qualifying and getting the job done. For 26 years, we've been having our Pro Bowl before the Super Bowl.
Credit a Busch Beer marketing executive named Monty Roberts for creating what was then the Busch Clash, a race among the pole winners of the prior season. And here is Elliott in this unfamiliar number 91 car, the winner of the 87 Clash.
And we talked earlier, one of the ways you get in the Bud Shootout forever is basically if you win the Bud Shootout. We have about 6 past winners, and Bill Elliott's one of those, that he did not sit on a pole in 2003. And also last year's winner of the Bud Shootout, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he did not win a pole last year. Started almost dead last year to come back and win that race. That's how he's in the race this year.
Yep, came from 19th, the furthest back anybody has come in starting position to win this.
And I think we need to point out also, as we see Bill Elliott going around in the number 91 car, people are going to say, well, why didn't Bill finish his career in the number 9? Well, last year, they go back to points again. The 9-car owner points go to Ray Evernham. They've got a young rookie in the car like they've got right now, in case they need a provisional or whatever, car owner points will play in his favor. And that way, this rookie gets the benefit of the number 9 number as far as the car owner is concerned, at least for the first, what is it, Larry, first 5 races, 4 to 5 races that we run.
First 4.
So that I'm sure that's one of the biggest reasons why Bill elected to go to the 91 and they kept the 9 with Casey Kane.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. still quickest as Bill Elliott heads for the garage. And we'll be right back with more from Daytona. Wall-to-wall practice for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. Here from Daytona at 1:30 p.m. live tomorrow.
All that work over the winter, ever since, well before even Homestead, Miami, comes down to those 2 laps tomorrow, getting ready to qualify for the Daytona 500.
What I love about this time of year is you walk through that garage area and every driver has a strong shot to win the championship. You don't believe it, just ask them. And every crew chief and every car owner.
That's the attitude you're supposed to roll in here with.
I was getting ready to say, if you didn't have that kind of attitude, you know what happens? You ought to be fired and just run right out of the garage here, because everybody has worked their tails off to get ready to come to Daytona and basically put your 4 best opportunities out there as far as this Bud Shootout, qualifying, the 125 and the 500. You've got a lot of racing.
Jeremy Mayfield is heading back out, guys. I talked to Jeremy while he was in. Just little changes, he said. They made a carburetor adjustment. They worked just a little bit on the handling as well. And meanwhile, his 500 car has been through tech as well today, and a few adjustments going on here. So side by side, while they're working on the car on the track, the Shootout car, the 500 car is getting ready to go on the track tomorrow.
And Dave, that paint scheme on Jeremy's Bud Shootout car, it's representative of the official logo of the 2004 NHL All-Star game that's going on this weekend in St. Paul, Minnesota. There it is. A lot happening up there with the hockey group this week.
I bet you didn't know that somebody that works with us actually played hockey, very good at it, is Alan Bestwick. Alan Bestwick was a great hockey player.
Really?
Yes. You ought to see him on skates.
Huh.
Very good.
Matt.
And someone also very good with a stick, or at least a hammer, that's Adam Meyer, the head fabricator at RCR. He's working on that left front fender of Kevin Harvick Chevrolet. It was rubbing a little bit. They did have the hammer beating away on it, trying just to massage it a little bit. And Larry Mack, you were talking about his expertise, much like an artist working with sheet metal.
Yeah, I don't call guys like Adam Meyer a fabricator. I call him a craftsman. But I think we're seeing a lot of people having to beat these front fenders up. And I think what's happening, we've heard throughout this practice session about the cars not turning and developing that push where it's not turning off the corner. And one thing you can do to overcome it is keep softening those front springs, maybe especially that left front spring. Of course, the more you soften them, the more the car travels and it hits the top of the fenders.
How do you estimate back at the shop when you set a car up how much compression that spring is going to give and how much clearance you're going to have left? Or is that something you really can't tell until you get to the racetrack?
Well, what happens is with the telemetry that the guys have at their access today is they're able to go out there and run around the racetrack and check that travel when the cars go in the race all the way around the racetrack, no matter what's in the corner, coming off the corner. They know approximately how far the left front spring as well as the right front, right rear, left rear, all these springs and how close the chassis is to the ground. And they're able to simulate that back at the shop, and that really has helped a lot of these fabricators today to be able to build these fenders with the right amount of clearance.
But one thing that's throwing them a little bit of a curve, Mike, this new tire combination by Goodyear, not only is it a little softer compound, especially on the right side, it's a softer sidewall. The tire's flexing around more. It makes you have to have a little more clearance not only in your front fenders, but your rear quarter pounders.
Kind of like the old bias ply days, exactly what these guys are running into. And a lot of these younger mechanics have never seen the bias ply, so it haven't understand how much it moves around.
There's Dave Blaney pulling off at the 23. He's headed for the garage. Elliott Sadler is in the garage right now. Dave's with us.
Standing outside his car, guys, and looks like you're done going home.
Yeah, I think we've got all the speed we can get out of this M&M's Full Taurus, so it's very good. It was great the first practice. We tried a little something at the beginning, second, didn't like it, put it back like we had it, and it's fast, it's comfortable. The guys have definitely done their homework, the motor shop and the fab shop. So I'm pretty excited about tomorrow. I'm looking to having a good time and moving around a little bit, doing some bump drafting, and just having a good time.
You like your car better up front, or you like it in the draft, Elliott?
It's led a lot of laps today in practices. I don't know if that's where we need to be. I tried to fall back some, but it was pretty fast, so I kind of wanted to go back to the front again. But it definitely likes leading. It's a lot of fun out there leading like we've been able to do, and the guys have got a great fuel mileage check, so we think we got everything that we need to have. We prepared as good as we can be for tomorrow night. We just want to make a good showing. We want to get all those dedicated Robert Yates fans something to cheer about starting here tomorrow night.
That's right. Of course, it wants to be up front on the correct lap at the end.
No kidding. Well, Dale Jr. still has the fastest practice speed. Bobby Labonte, Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray, Jimmy Johnson, and Dave Blaney are the quickest half dozen thus far. Fantasy Cup Auto Racing is now the official fantasy game of Speed Channel. Select your team of 8 Nextel Cup drivers, score weekly points, stay within your budget. To enter, simply log on to speedtv.com and click on the Fantasy Cup Auto Racing banner at the top of the page. Grand prize winner receives $25,000, and there's more than $750,000 at stake in 2004.
Got a pretty good group of cars gathering back out there again. We're getting down here in the final 15 minutes of this practice session. This will be the final practice before the Bud Shootout tomorrow night.
13 of the 19 cars on track. Elliott Sadler headed for the house, as he told us. And Ryan Newman rolling out of the throttle as his teammate Rusty Wallace goes to the front.
Just remember one thing when you do watch the Bud Shootout tomorrow is remember that yellow line all the way around the bottom of this racetrack, that's out of bounds. You cannot go below that yellow line and advance your position. We've had a lot of issues with that over the last couple of years, so that's something, especially in that short race tomorrow night, that NASCAR will be watching very closely.
Dodge, Chevy, Dodge, Ford, Chevrolet in that front group with Dale Jarrett's 88 and Kevin Harvick in the 29, and Boris Said right there in the 01 Army Chevrolet. The road race veteran getting a taste of Daytona-style superspeedway drafting.
And Boris is just trying to do what he did in earlier practice, just log laps in this thing. You know, put that car in different positions. He's never really ran a speedway. In fact, even when he sat on the pole, Mike, at Infineon in June, NASCAR has a criteria for drivers to race at Daytona or Talladega, so they highly suggested you maybe need to run the ARCA race at Talladega in October, so that's what this group did for him, to get him that experience, and for NASCAR to give him that seal of approval to race here tomorrow night.
Dave?
When they pull out the cleaning materials and start wiping down the car, you know they're pretty close to done. Terry Labonte has stepped out. And how was your car at the end?
Well, I think it was pretty good. You know, it's handling good and seems to be running pretty good. So we not really much point in just out there riding around, I guess. We really couldn't think of anything else to try to make it any better because we felt like it was pretty close. So we'll just have to see what we have tomorrow night.
Is there any place other than the front to be on the last lap in this configuration?
It depends how many guys are lined up behind you, but at the first, if you're first, it's going to be the best place to be, unless there's only 2 or 3 guys, you know, in the lead pack. I think if there's, you know, a big pack of cars, that's like there probably will be, then I think first is the place to be. But I think if you are first, there's only 3 or 4 of them behind you, they could line up and pass you. But if there's too many behind you, they won't do it, so because they're going to all start racing each other.
Very hard for this last 50-lap shootout tomorrow night, guys.
Terry Labonte, Richmond pole winner and winner of the final Labor Day Southern 500. He won the Bud Shootout, Busch Clash 1985.
And you know, one reason I think you're going to want to be out front or leading at the end of this race, especially at the end of a long run when the tires are really wore out and these cars are pushing worse and worse, is being out front is going to make that car turn the best because you've got all the air on the front end. You know, if you're behind them, you've lost that front downforce.
Jeff Hammond with the winner of the first Busch Clash.
That's right, Mike. We come outside here to the spotter stand, and guess who I found? I found Brendan Gaughan, which is contending for the Rookie of the Year, but I also found the guys teaching him. Like you said earlier, he won the first Busch Clash. That's Buddy Baker. Buddy, what's going on up here tonight?
Well, Brendan's really catching on quick about the draft and all. Of course, he ran the truck race here last year and did a fine job, but little tricks that he's watching Ryan Newman and Rusty Wallace doing when they're working together. the three of them ought to be dynamic if they really work together and not against each other. That's what I'm telling him, and he's real quick on that. And I will tell you this, tremendous amount of ability here. You're going to hear a lot about Brendan Gaughan this year.
Well, buddy, let me ask you this. You had a lot to do with, as far as Ryan Newman's concerned, how does he compare to Ryan?
Well, they're different people completely, and Ryan Newman is pretty quiet about what he does, and Brendan Gaughan, but he gets the job done, and you know, it's just a different style. Both of them have their own way of doing things, but I still work with Ryan Newman here in Daytona. I'll be on the back straightaway spotting for him, but I also keep an eye on Brendan. We tested together down here and did a fine job. We're very quick. I'm looking for him. By the way, he put a little money on himself for the Daytona 500. That's how proud he is of what he can do.
What about that, Brandon?
You know, Buddy Baker having the coach here, right, you know, has really helped me a ton. We are trying to watch Rusty and Ryan. I mean, those are my teammates, trying to watch the moves they're making, and you can see when they work together that last couple seconds, you can see how much better they work together, how much faster their dodges became. They went right to the front of that pack. This whole deal is, you know, it's not about teamwork when you're running. It's just about picking the right spots, picking and choosing, and being committed when you do it. And I'm committed to following Rusty and Ryan. They're my teammates. Rusty's my boss, and Ryan's got a lot of wins. So I could finish third behind them and make Penske 1, 2, 3 and be just pretty darn happy.
What about all year long? I mean, how things are going to be as far as that's concerned? Is it starting to come to you that you are now in the Nextel Cup?
I'm having a lot of fun. You know, I'm always exciting, Jeff, and I'm always excitable, and I'm still having fun. I'm still excited. You know, to actually have a sponsor wearing the Kodak stuff here means the world, that to actually be able to talk about a product and represent great people and great companies. And that's what you have with Kodak, Penske, and Jaspers. Great people, great companies. So it's true. I love talking about the people. And so I'm just excited. We're going to have fun.
Well, talking about one of the teammates of this Penske operation, I believe Matt Yoakum's caught up with Ryan Newman.
Ryan Newman sits patient in his race car, and you've spoken many times about the advantages of having someone like Buddy Baker in your corner.
Yeah, Buddy's an awesome guy, both on and off the racetrack, and he's helped us out a lot, and a lot of thanks go to him. And to have him helping us out down here at Daytona means a whole lot to me personally, and you know, it does make this race car go faster, so that's definitely cool.
Now, a big learning curve for your teammate, Brendan, but what about yourself? Now that you've got some time in the seat, does he still bring up things from time to time that maybe fine-tune your driving style or maybe what you're doing?
You know, Buddy, he's not afraid to tell you what's right from wrong, and it definitely does help us out still. And, you know, thankfully I've learned some things, so it's not as much as the first time he came here to Daytona, but, you know, I know he'll be a good help to Brendan Gaughan also.
Quickly grade your car, scale of 1 to 10 on sucking up, and is it better out front or in the back?
I'd say it's 5 in all respects right now. We got a pretty average race car, so just trying to see what we can do to make it a 6 or a 5.5, and go from there.
Engineer always talking about numbers, guys.
Well, Newman and Gaughan join a list of Baker proteges that include Ron Bouchard and Jimmy Spencer.
He has given a lot of them a good education. Now, you better believe it. When it come to Daytona and Talladega, you knew Buddy Baker was pushing his foot through the floorboard.
Every time. Dale Jr., Bobby Labonte, Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray, and Jimmy Johnson are fast in this practice session. Speed Channel coverage of Bud Shootout practice is brought to you by new Levitra. New choice, here now. Ask your doctor today. Full moon Friday night at Daytona International Speedway. Don't need the moonlight. This place is lit by hundreds of thousands of candle power. And there's Dave Blaney leading Jamie McMurray and Bill Elliott around the speedway. Here's Dave Burns.
Mark Martin standing by here, just hopped out of the 6 car. And Mark, we started the show talking with your crew chief about, you know, secret stuff underneath the fenders and changing things under there. Did it make any difference?
It would fly before, and it'll fly now.
Are you happy with it?
It's the fastest car I've had at Daytona in years and years. I'm so proud of this whole team, and maybe we can put this craft car out front a little bit tomorrow night.
Was it better for you leading the pack, or did you feel like staying back coming around?
Way better leading the pack, and it would do that. Once you get there, it would stay there very well, you know, better than anything I've had in years. Proud of this Ford Power under the hood and this new Taurus, and Pat and all the guys, Todd and all these guys that work on this car, built a brand new car untested for the shootout here, and we've had a good practice. We're finished.
Sounds like Mark will be in the mix tomorrow night. Matt?
Kevin Harvick's also done for the night. 25 laps in the first session, 29 this session. Kevin, rate your car.
We got to handle it a lot better. Actually, a little bit free right now, so we're just kind of fooling around with some stuff, trying to make it just a little bit better. But so far, the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet's pretty good, and have to wait and see what happens tomorrow.
Does your car like to lead or follow better?
We haven't actually led yet. We've just been trying to stay in traffic and make our car handle good and really concentrate on making sure it pulls up, handles, does everything it needs to do, and if it can pull to second, it'll be able to lead fine.
Now, the best averaging finish by any driver last year on the four plate races isn't Michael Waltrip or Dale Earnhardt Jr. It was you with finishes of 2nd through 9th. It seems like you've really improved on your plate racing.
Yeah, I think Mike Skinner said it the best. I couldn't draft my way out of a 7-11 the first year and a half or so, but I still make some mistakes, and that's why we're trying to practice more than we usually do and just get ourselves tuned up and get all the winter bugs out.
It's all about learning. He certainly has learned a lot, Larry Mack.
Yeah, and I mean, that average finish, that came with this car that he's racing in the Bud Shootout, because this is the car that he ran all 4 restrictor plate races with last year. But you know what, Jeff, if that car's a little bit free, not loose, just a little free with the way everybody's going with their chassis setup, the way these cars are going on a long run, a little free at the beginning, if you can hang on, might not be bad.
I think it'd be the best way you could start right now, because, again, we're talking about the racetrack maybe being a little bit cooler again, more than what it is tonight. I mean, another maybe 10 or 15 degrees, which, again, could make it cars have that much more grip. So being free, like you're saying, Larry, would be a really good way to start the race.
Murray in that 42 car, he has run some laps. He's ran 39 laps, so he's just about 10 laps shy of the length of the second segment of 50 laps.
Yeah, he and Dave Blaney lead the league in laps run in this second practice session. It is the first Bud Shootout for both of them.
Jamie was a late entry, won the last Bud Pole of 2003 down at Homestead Miami Speedway in November. But this is good. This is what I would encourage my driver and my group to do, is let's run as many laps as we can. We have to find out what this car is going to be like at the end of a long run if we're going to be there at the end tomorrow.
And one other thing too, Larry, not only do you want to have your car out front to see how it pulls everybody around there, you also want to get back in that pack and be around some of this traffic to make sure that the car is not getting buffeted around. Make sure that the cowl is working like it should as far as when it's in that air that's so disturbed. You need to make sure that the car will do everything you want it to do from front to back and back to front. It's really important that you work the car in that kind of configuration.
And I would say the timing of that pit stop in that second segment, that 50 laps, that's going to be pretty critical. That's another thing these guys are trying to do. They're trying to see what their fuel mileage is, and with this bigger restrictor plate. And Matt, I think you have the man that's fastest in this practice.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is done. First off, he said hello to the Dirty Mo Posse. Who was the other group?
Oh, that's my buddies on the DMP board, just some friends of mine. All the guys on FLM, and just the guys I race on the computer with all the time. And we have a lot of fun, but they're all watching. And
well, what can you tell them about this car? Is it a 10?
It don't drive as good as my car on the game does. It's pretty fun, but they took a lot of grip away from the cars with the softer tire. The tire's good for a couple laps, and then it just wears out and you slide all over the place. But we had a bad rear gear that first practice, and it was locked up, and we fixed that. And now the car's pretty good.
We saw you cut through the field very, very strong.
Yeah, we're pretty strong. Just got to keep the tires on it, wearing the tires out before we run out of fuel. So, don't know what to do about that. Can't lift. Nobody else is lifting. So we'll just have to figure out how we can save the tires on the car. I think running the high line will help, but you can't run up there by yourself. You'll run in the back. So if we can run up off the bottom a little bit, it might keep the right front on the car a little bit, and maybe I can get some guys up there and run up there. But we go back to Talladega. See, we got a little more rear spoiler that we ain't run here in Daytona yet. They put it on at Talladega at the end of the season, so a lot of guys ain't thought about that we got more rear down, not as much front. So.
Junior, very confident, looking for back-to-back wins here in the shootout, Mike.
And so he should be. That car worked very, very well in this evening's practice. 19 drivers will square off in the Bud Shootout tomorrow night. You'll see it live on TNT, but you'll get your fill of Daytona beginning at 10 a.m. tomorrow when we have Nextel Cup practice.
be interesting tomorrow night. A lot of veterans in this race a lot versus a lot of those young guns we see a lot in every race.
And the big thing is, guys, can Dale Earnhardt Jr. do it again? The other thing is, I'm really curious it's going to be lucky enough to get the luck of the draw tonight to see where the starting positions all kind of come out.
We'll let you know tomorrow. Join us on Speed at 10 a.m. tomorrow for Nextel Cup practice. Good evening from Daytona.